Hello, everyone. We're back again for another live. We're going to be talking about sleep. We're going to be talking about sleep and the importance of sleep in celebration of the vegan health bundle that is going on right now. Again, link in my bio here on Instagram or in the description box below if you're watching on YouTube. Our guest today is the love of my life, my husband, Nate. So he's going to join us and we're going to chat about sleep, some things that you can do to improve your sleep, why we need a lot of sleep, and his thoughts on sleep as well. So that's going to be really fun. I've got some questions here and I've got some tips for you to share. But please go check out the bundle. The bundle is running right now. You only have 3 days left to get it. So I highly encourage you to go to the link in my bio right now. You can leave the live because you can always come back, but the bundle is only here for 3 more days. And before you know it, the weekend's going to disappear. So go get it now because you have a year to download all the content. Once you download it onto your device, you get to open it indefinitely as long as you keep the files safe. So go get the bundle. It's only $49 and you get dollars. It's all yours for $49. Nate and I have contributed 8 things to this bundle, so go check it out. If you want to see everything that you get in the bundle, about 30% of it is raw focus. Check out the link in either of our bios. Hello.
Hey!
Hi.
Hi.
He's in the
Can you,
office. Hello.
can you see me okay?
I can see you wonderfully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So before we begin, can you share with the people a little bit about what you created brand new for this bundle that they get when they buy the bundle?
Yes. So what I created and contributed this year is a brand new book called The Smoothie Solution. So a lot of people don't really know how to make smoothies. They don't really know what to do, what to blend up. So I thought maybe I'll make a smoothie book. There's lots of smoothie books out there, which is really cool. So being that there's so many smoothie books out there, I figured it'd be kind of cool to have a little more information about specific things that are really good to blend into smoothies, from fruits to vegetables to nuts and seeds to sprouts and legumes, and the superfoods like the powders, spirulina, chlorella, these sorts of things. So I kind of dove deep into talking about the nutrition and the benefits of these certain foods on the human body. And then it just kind of trailed into more things. I was like, a lot of people are worried about lectins and oxalates, if you're blending, kale and spinach and these sorts of things. So I kind of dove into that a little bit, talked about glyphosates, how to wash the produce, how to pick the produce. And then, of course, there's recipes on how to make nut milks and sprouts. I've got a sprouting guide in there, too, because it's really cool to, throw some sprouts into your smoothie as well as like the mindful aspect of eating, the hydration that we get through smoothies, and yeah, just all kinds of information, So it's kind of like it's more than just a smoothie recipe book. I feel like there's, definitely going to be some things that people should be able to take away from it. So the Smoothie Solution, yeah, that's in the bundle.
Aw, thank you so much for taking the time to make that for everybody. It's like nearly 350 pages, which is awesome. We have some comments in the chat here. B. Jenny says, you both have the most beautiful skin. Thank you. It's all those hydrating smoothies.
That's right. Is this better?
Oh, yeah. Oh, in fact, speaking of skin, on a side note, Osea has their new product. It's the
Yeah.
Dream Light Serum, and I just want to quickly show that off right now because it's brand new. They just released it yesterday, and if anyone wants a link for Osea, send me a DM so that you can get this. But check it out. It's like pinkish purple.
That's some good stuff right there.
Yeah, it's kind of like the hyaluronic.
Is it?
Like it's got that same consistency, but it's for night. It's a night
So
serum.
it's like the hydrochloric acid. Is that what you said?
Hyaluronic. We don't want to be putting hydrochloric acid on our skin. But yeah, it's an amazing new product. It smells like lavender, so it's great for sleeping. But I wanted to share that really quickly.
We'll
So
have to, I'm
somebody said
excited to try
about our
that.
skin.
We'll have to put that in, you know, in the the smoothie routine, the skincare routine for the evening.
Yeah, definitely. Especially pairing it with the they have like a dream night cream. It's this
Ooh,
one right here. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a lavender one too. So you get lavender and lavender
So
for
what would be the layers? Like how would you would, you know, of course you're washing your face and then you maybe put a toner on first and
mhm,
then you'd use the um that what was the last one? The serum?
the serum.
What's that called?
It's a night serum. Yep.
Night serum. So then you put the night serum on and then you put that cream on and
And
pretty
then
much
you could put an oil on top.
kind of lock it
If
in.
you live in a really dry climate, yeah, it locks everything in, and your face is so dewy the next day. I love it. Osea has also a day like an oil that you can put on as well
Let's get
to
back.
lock everything.
I haven't done my skincare routine in over a week and I definitely feel it.
Hmm.
Feel it. It
Yeah,
feels so much better
I know
going to
it's
bed.
nice to have a good scrub
Yeah.
and
It's
glaze.
like, I mean, really, when you think about it, it's kind of intense. It's like a good 15 minutes probably from, you know, brushing and flossing, washing your face and putting all the creams on, maybe massaging your scalp, massaging your face before you go to bed 15 minutes. So it's not too bad. I bet we could probably get down to maybe 10 minutes, but yeah, like 15 minutes in the nighttime.
Mhm.
And then, of course, that lip stuff, whatever that stuff's called, is amazing.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I know. Yeah, there's so many options for healthy vegan products for your face. But yeah, let's chat a little bit more about sleep because speaking of skin health, sleep is super important for skin health. And like we've said multiple times across many different videos, Dr. Rosalind Graham told me, oh, she was doing like a demonstration. She was talking about the wheel of health and how, we have all these spokes: our diet, our exercise, spending time in nature, fostering healthy relationships, following our passion, meditation, all that stuff, right? All these spokes.
Mm.
We believe that sleep is the axle that holds everything together. So if we want to have our wheel running properly, we need to have a good, strong axle with all the spokes even, right? We don't want to put too much emphasis on the diet, but neglect exercise, or spend too much time in nature and not spend enough time meditating or whatever, right? Like we want to balance everything really nicely so that we get that. But I wanted to ask you, why do you feel that sleep is essential, and why do you feel that it is the axle that holds everything together?
I don't know. Last night it was like, gosh, it's time for bed already. And in a way, like, it's kind of a bummer that we are designed to need to sleep a third of our life. I mean, there's so many books and studies and YouTubes and all kinds of podcasts talking about the benefits of sleep and why we need to sleep and all these sorts of things. And of course, it all sounds great to me. You know, the adenosine gets cleared out, right? We have the glymphatic system. It's different than the lymphatic system. Like all these, it makes sense. Okay. You know, it makes sense. But, you know, if you're to ask me, like, why do I think it's important and healthy? I just don't know. Like it just is. It just is healthy. I don't know why. Like you feel better when you have a good night's rest. If you have 5 hours, some people say like, oh, I only get 5 hours of sleep and I feel fine. I feel like trash if I only get 5.5 hours sleep. I actually don't even feel that great if I get 6.5 hours sleep. Like I need at least a good solid 7.5 hours to 8 hours of sleep. And of course I have the Aura ring, right? So I'm able to test, you know, I can see my heart rate at night and I can see my sleep score, like how well I slept, how many times I woke up. And if I go to bed early, if you and I both like are on point, listen to our alarm and we go do our facial routine after a little yin yoga, it's 8:30 and we read a couple pages and we're like closing our eyes, going to sleep, you know, maybe doing like a breath work meditation or something by 9 o'clock. And then we wake up around 6, 5:30, 6. 6 is probably more accurate because you wake up a couple times during the night. I feel so much better than if I go to bed later at night, say 11 o'clock at night, and wake up maybe 7. I mean, it's interesting because you're thinking like 11 to 7, there's 8 hours, but you don't actually sleep like good quality sleep. You wake up, maybe you got to go to the bathroom, maybe you toss and turn a few times and you open your eyes for a second, and hopefully like no thoughts come in, because then it's over. Like you can take yourself into an awakened state. But I mean, I just don't know. I don't know why it's so important. All the stuff that people say, that's why. Because, it is. It just is. It's how we're designed. We're designed to need to sleep. And then, of course, there's the circadian rhythm, right? The circadian rhythm. And then there's the organs have the time to repair during the night. All these things that are out there. And, people are talking about it. There's people who study nothing but sleep. It's fascinating stuff. Mm-hmm. So just to kind of be funny, like, I don't know why.
I know. Like, I don't think that none of us really even understand. Like even the people who research sleep, like Matthew Walker, who wrote the Why We Sleep book, he's like, it's like a mystery. Like, why do we need this? Why was it put into our design? Why do we need it? And it's really interesting. In his book, he talks about how he has this theory that the reason why our brains grew, because, there's lots of people who say it's because we ate, animal products or cooked food or whatever it is that they think. He believes that our brains started to grow when we started to sleep more, because fire was invented, right? We discovered fire and we were able to sleep longer during the night. We didn't have to stay awake and alert so much for predators or danger or whatever. And because of that, the amount of sleep that we were getting and increasing actually grew our brains, and we got smarter from that. So I thought that was a pretty interesting theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Looks like Money Online here says, I would work so much better if we worked off of 36-hour day and slept 10 of it. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, 10 hours is nice, 8, 9, 10 hours. It's interesting because like infants need to sleep 10 to even 12 hours. Mm-hmm. They're growing so much and there's so much going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a crazy concept though, how you're saying. Was it Matthew Walker? What was his name?
Yeah.
Yep. Which I haven't read all of that book. I've only kind of brushed in just a couple times. I want to read that book. It sounds fascinating, and it's a great story. Like, we came up with fire, so we have a fire going over there and we feel a little safer. It's keeping the critters and different animals away so we can sleep more soundly. We actually get like more solid sleep because we're not like on a high alert. Makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and because while we sleep, that's when the information is filed and when we actually learn. And he said in the book too that it's so beneficial to like learn something. Like, for example, if you're learning a new language, you do it like before bed, and then while you're sleeping, it kind of gets like, it like soaks in while you're sleeping more effectively. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, we haven't checked out Brian Johnson. I've watched some of his stuff on YouTube, and he's fascinating. It's really cool, trying to figure out. It's kind of interesting too, because there are lots of stories. And studies about our telomeres, and our telomeres are only so long, and then that's a whole like topic in itself, like how the telomeres, because this is a really fascinating thing, like they have been cut, they weren't supposed to be that short, but we're only really going to live to 120 years from what studies show. 120 years, if you live like, the best that you could live, you're getting the good sleep, you're eating delicious whole food and very low stress, 120 years. There's not many people on the planet or in, the recorded history that we know of that have lived longer than 120 years. Now I know there's like back in the day, people lived, 500 years or 1,000 years or whatever. Who's to say? I don't know. I mean, it's a great story. We don't know. Maybe they were counting years differently. I always thought that was kind of fascinating, hearing how certain people live so much longer. But yeah, Brian Johnson's a really interesting individual, and it's great that he's doing what he's doing. He's got the money to be able to play the game that he's playing and trying to optimize the health of himself. But for the average individual, the average guy walking around, girl, when the kids growing up, like, we only have what we have. It just is what it is. And the average person is living, used to be like in their late 60s for a man, and now it's like, I believe it's a little bit higher, and who knows about these numbers and who's collecting the data and all this stuff. How do we really know? It's but I mean, shoot, if we're living to 80 something, 90 something, and still dancing and still being able to move around a good time, like, that's not terrible. Of course it would be great. I mean, I've thought it'd be pretty awesome if we could be like, have the ability to live thousands of years, because imagine, like, the instruments that you could play, the languages that you could speak, you could pick up and study and be a painter for, like, 10 years of your life. We only have so much that we can actually do, because we only have on average about 80 years. So the average person doesn't have the ability to tap in, I feel like, as much as, some people don't want to live very long. They would rather, because, life is pretty intense. It's pretty hard. It's a hard game we're playing here. And yeah, I mean, heck, I feel like if I could make it to 100, 103 or something, that's fantastic. There's not a lot of people that we know of that are, 110, 115. And even so, the quality of life towards those later years it's a lot different, so. But yeah, sleep, of course, it's interesting, because we're designed to need this certain amount of sleep, which is just kind of a bummer. I wish we could just work off of 3 hours. 3 hours, you're like, man, I feel so good, because then we could just do so many more things in life. We would have actually more life, because we're sleeping a third of our life if we're sleeping properly and getting the proper amount of sleep.
I know, yeah, right. It's so interesting how we need that, and how important it is. Like, why do we need the specific amount that we need? And what they've studied so far, because we're always learning new things about it and stuff. We need sleep to clear out the adenosine, the Alzheimer's plaques, and the lymphatic system, which is our kind of waste removal system that is enclosed in our brain and only happens when we sleep. So one of the things that I've told you about before, and I've talked about this before on videos, is that when I first went raw, a lot of people were saying stuff like, oh, when you go raw, you only need 4 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep and you feel amazing and stuff. But unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, diet does not do what sleep does in the brain. It doesn't clean your lymphatic system. Only sleep does that. So if you are running on 4 to 6 hours of sleep thinking that you don't need it, you are setting your brain up for dementia, sadly to say. But that's part of, the cause of, obviously there's other reasons as well, but sleep is being linked with, or lack of sleep for that matter, is being linked with dementia and Alzheimer's. And, that's something that we need to consider and be aware of, because again, diet doesn't fix that. So, when I'm like laying there sleeping 7.5 to 9 hours and people are like, oh, I've had this said, people told me I was still toxic, that I needed to detox because I needed that much sleep. But it's not true. We actually do need that much sleep to clean out our lymphatic system and to clean out those plaques and to file the information.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because the microbiome is affected with the quality of sleep. Like, we have friends, and I both know a few people who are very, very hyper focused on a couple of those spokes, right? Like diet, maybe some exercise, but their sleep is so out of whack. They're staying up till 2 in the morning. And when they get their microbiome scores, their microbiome score isn't as good as they wish it would be, or they think that it would be. And that has to be another one of the factors that plays in. Yeah, it's so fascinating how it is. And, it's just, we have to have it. You can't, when you're working graveyard, the way that, there's studies, all these different studies, you can read all these studies, and I feel bad for people who work graveyard. I worked graveyard every summer. When I blew glass, I wanted to blow during the nighttime because it was so hot. During the summertime, I would go to a graveyard shift, and just because it's a little cooler at night. And I don't know, I was pretty young. I was in my 20s, my early to mid 20s, later 20s. Yeah, basically all through my 20s, I would do the graveyard. And I don't know, I wasn't eating the best. And there was all kinds of things that were out of whack in my life. So it's hard to say. It's not like I journaled too, oh, I feel really good today. But it's so interesting too, how people don't get the greatest quality of sleep. Maybe they're also breathing through their mouth a lot, and maybe they're not oxygenating as well through their sleep, and they wake up tired, and they start their day off with coffee right away because their energy is, they just wake up and they're just like, oh man, here we go again. Okay, I'll get some coffee in me. And then, they drink the coffee, maybe they eat a breakfast sandwich through a drive-through or something, then they get a drink, right? It's interesting how much we're struggling for energy, and a lot of it stems down, boils down to the quality of sleep that we're getting. And of course, what we're eating, what we're drinking, if we're drinking alcohol, there's all these factors. And I know it's interesting because everybody, there's so many people nowadays wanting a life hack. What's the life hack? It's life hack is stay hydrated, keep your salt and oil, processed oils and, low, and get processed food out of your life. Eat whole food, wash your face, go to bed on time and get a good night's rest, exercise during the day. You're most likely, it's interesting how many people will feel so much better. You'll most likely feel better if you're following a protocol of a little bit more, health conscious in mind, right? I have to go to bed on time. But it's
it becomes non-negotiable,
yeah,
right?
but it's so easy though. You and I, here we can practice what we preach and kind of thing. You and I both, we have sometimes a tricky time going to bed on time. Like I said, in a perfect world, we follow our alarm, but sometimes you get into a nice creative flow at night, and next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock, 10:30 even. There's been some times we haven't gone to bed until 11. And of course, you and I both have stayed up past 11 multiple times. But it's crazy how many people stay up past 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night because we have screens, we're, endless scrolling, or, movies to watch. We have lights that we can be on nonstop. So it's interesting. And, some people came here to party. They don't care, But for you and I, you and I both, we have the lens on where it's all right, I want to live as long as I can. I want to see our grandkids grow up, great grandkids. I still want to be able to play with them, take them hiking and snowboarding. And that's not going to happen unless I treat this body the best that I can, eat the best that I can, not trying to stress out and freak myself out if I don't go to bed on time, or eat the, all organic, there's so many things that I feel like we can stress ourselves out about. But yeah, it's interesting too how many people are really, really tired. And that's why 5-hour energy and energy drinks and Red Bull and coffee is one of the most traded commodities next to oil. Coffee is incredibly prevalent within our society because it's just such a fast-paced society, right? And then Yeah, it's so interesting. And then of course, like, the blue blocker concept, like, have some blue blocker or have your screen go to where the blue light's out, or, put the phone away, put the screens away by a certain time at night. Have your I don't know the kelvins, right? But like it's so cool because I have these like Edison bulbs, and if I'm working here at night, I'll turn off the brighter light, the blue light, essentially, it's the white light, and I'll put those other ones on. So it's almost like I'm working next to candlelight, and it's a lot nicer on my eyes, kind of like tunes me into slowing down, regulating to get ready for sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great that you mentioned that, because that's something that is a big problem with, even you and I struggle with it. Like no one's perfect, but the screens, the movies, like there's so much to enjoy and watch and consume, right? So it's hard to follow the alarm and just turn it off, because it'll still be there. There'll still be stuff the next day, really taking that time. I also wanted to mention too, on the needing less sleep kind of a thing, or people who tend to wake up multiple times through the night and they just can't seem to get back to sleep. I would definitely recommend checking out how many calories you're eating during the day, because this is why a lot of, some of the raw foodies say they need less sleep, because they wake up early and they're ready to go. If they are not eating enough calories, which is the number one reason people struggle on a raw diet, they're not eating enough food in general, then your body isn't going to sleep the full amount of time, because it's going to be like, okay, let's get up, let's get some fuel. So it's like trying to look for fuel. So people who wake up multiple times through the night and have a really hard time getting back to sleep, sometimes, obviously there's other reasons too, but I wanted to mention this because so many people on a raw diet don't eat enough calories, and that can cause the body to want to wake up earlier or interrupt the sleep so that it could go maybe look for some food. You get the late night snacking when people are calorie restricting and stuff like that, and that can cause that too. So keep that in mind if you are having issues on a raw diet with sleep.
I noticed too, like I don't sleep as soundly. My sleep score isn't as high if I eat past a certain time. Like I really don't. We have several times in our life eaten 7:30, 8:30 at night, eating dinner. And if you're going to bed, say 10:30, you have a big meal in your belly. 8:30 you're done eating. You're not fully, like, you haven't digested all that before you go to bed, and some of that digesting is happening while you're sleeping, so you're not, there's a lot of energy being expended to just digest. So that's one thing that's really infected my sleep, is eating later. And of course, I strive to have us, eat and be done eating by 6, because my sleep score is better. I'm able to, and I feel that I slept better too when I don't eat very close to bedtime. And of course, there's studies. It's interesting because we study all kinds of stuff. What does a rock sound like to a fish when you throw it into the water? All these things. Like there's studies though that show, it's better to not eat really close to bedtime. 4 hours before you sleep, you should be done eating. That way you've digested most of the things. Some people even will do like lap swimming in a pool just to really kind of burn off whatever's left over, just so you sleep more soundly. I love that concept of swimming before bed. I just saw that like a couple days ago. I'm like, wow, that's a good idea. Just like go take a couple laps in the pool, pretty low impact. It's not like walking. I know there's so many things in a way that are like, we're living life in so many ways that's just not natural. Like it's there's a lot of things that have changed within this last 150 years that just isn't really natural. It's not a natural way to live. And I noticed that when I was on the Colorado Trail with Jonah, we would be bedding down by like around 5:30 or 6 o'clock, and I would have like my beanie I would put over my eyes so it was dark, because we were getting up at like 4 a.m. to pack up our camp and get back on the trail, because on the Colorado Trail, the time of year to go is basically during the summer, but that's like the thunderstorm season. So there's thunder. It starts out beautiful in the morning, and then thunder showers come in the afternoon. And you want to be able to make it over like a couple of peaks of mountains. You don't want to be stuck up on a peak when a storm's coming. So therefore, you go to bed earlier, you wake up earlier. But it was interesting because there was some people that we met on the trail that would stay up late, and they would get up late. And it's so much easier for some reason to just stay up late and sleep in, get up late. It just, I don't know, like if we were to just do that, like what our body is, I don't know, kind of compelled to do, yeah, the quality of sleep goes down, the quality of, the only way to know that is to actually like have something that you wear. It's kind of interesting. Here we are with these technologies, like, well, how well did I sleep? You wake up and you're like, I don't know if I feel actually super rested, but yeah, when I do get a good solid, like on my sleep, the Oura ring shows you like how much you actually slept. A time of sleep. If I sleep more than 8 hours, I feel much better.
Me too.
And of course that also plays into not eating later in the day, because if I eat later, if we have like a late dinner, I don't sleep as good. I toss and turn, and I'm not like, I don't get as solid of a night's sleep if I have food in my stomach.
Right. Yeah, blink of an eye says sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night hungry though. And that again usually is a sign that you didn't consume enough food during the
Yeah.
day. You can wake up in the middle of the night hungry and your body is it's looking for fuel.
Yeah.
So really look at what you're consuming. And if you want to stop eating, a couple hours before bed, start eating earlier in the day, right? You wake up, have the majority, like it's like people call it front loading calories. Like they try to get as many calories in the early days or early times in the morning, because I mean, think of you're going on a long road trip. What's the first thing you do? You fill your gas tank right to the max, right? So we got to fill our gas tanks so that we have the energy to move through the day. And then, we end like 5:30, 6 o'clock, dinner time, and then we can go to bed early, and our body isn't going to be like, you only 8,000 calories, so it's going to wake up more times throughout the night. So check that out if you are thinking.
Yeah, and that's why you and I both try to get like around 700 to maybe 800 calories worth of breakfast in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Another, 800 calories, 600 to 800 calories for lunch, like a nice big lunch. And then dinner doesn't have to be as big. And maybe we have a little bit more fat with our dinner, like a dressing that's made out of some nuts, maybe some avocado, or tahini, nuts or seeds, right? Yeah, so I know, and it's interesting too, because there's the whole intermittent fasting thing that people seem to really love, and I don't mind intermittent fasting. You definitely don't do as well on it, and they say, I saw a thumbnail of a YouTube. I feel like I saved it because I wanted to hear what they were saying on just how it's not the best for women. And my theory on that is that men, like, let's picture we're way back, in the tribal days, men were out there like trying to hunt and gather, and maybe they didn't eat very much in the morning, and because they're hunting, right, and gathering stuff, and but the women, maybe the women were at home in the village with the children, working in the garden, munching, and just naturally like eating earlier because they're feeding the babies or whatever it may be. Yeah, it's interesting how we have evolved. I know some women, say they do really well with intermittent fasting, but I know that there are a lot of women that say they just don't do the greatest. And you also say, like, I don't like it. I don't like the way I feel. Blood sugar dips. I could go like definitely till noon without eating. But it's also interesting too, because there's that whole the thermogenesis, right? Adaptive thermogenesis. The more you eat in the morning, the more your body starts to crave, the food in the morning. If you don't eat in the morning, some people are like, oh, I don't do breakfast. I don't eat breakfast. And there it is, that adaptive thermogenesis. It's just like naturally, it kind of evolves with how you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, like your body adapts to what you're doing, and people think that that's what their body wants, but it's like your body is like, no, I'm reacting to what you're doing to me.
yeah,
So it's not that I want to go long, without eating. The body actually prefers routine.
yeah,
That's when it works the best. When it has routine, when it's fueled up, when everything's working good, And yeah, of course, we can go hours without eating, but this is like survival stuff. And we don't want to live in a survival state. We want to live in a thrival state. So it's like, eat the calories, go to bed early. And we had somebody in the chat say, do you still live in Vegas? And yes, we do. And I really wanted to talk about blackout curtains because we live in Vegas. We live like right where all the partying is happening. So there's a lot of lights that come in through our windows. So blackout curtains are amazing. And I know it's so funny. Sometimes Nate will get up and he'll put on the blackout curtains and I'm like, oh yeah, we're sleeping in today. Because, it really helps you to stay sleeping. So if people are having issues sleeping, try getting some blackout curtains and wearing an eye mask.
yeah,
Something that can block out any extra little lights, like from your maybe you have a clock or some little beeping lights like your fire alarm or whatever, like little lights that can kind of irritate. Keep that on, and it keeps everything really nice and dark so that you can maintain your hormone levels throughout sleep. And also temperature. Temperature is really important too. We sleep best between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like 15 to like 18 Celsius, I think, in around there. 60 to 67 is ideal. Some people like it a little warmer, like up to maybe 68 or 69. But anything under 60 is going to be too cold. So I like to suggest people try 67, try 63, try 60 for a little while and see which one you like the best. Journal, how it feels and stuff. But the temperature, if you can lower your temperature when the sun goes down, because naturally that's when things get cooler. When the sun goes down, the temperature drops and it signals our bodies that it's time to start making melatonin. And that's why it's really important also to practice proper stress management and doing things like yin yoga before bed or meditation to help bring the body into that parasympathetic state so that we can go to sleep and produce more of the melatonin. Because if you have too much cortisol running in your system, your body's not going to produce as much melatonin that we need for proper sleep.
yeah. That's so huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely difference sleeping with a little bit in a cooler environment. But yeah, like you're saying too, if it's too cold, then you're not sleeping as soundly there either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. And of course, you adapt. Like if we lived in a tropical, warmer area, more humidity, um, we would adapt to it. But I mean, I would definitely prefer having it, right around 67, 66 degrees. We keep our place right around 69, 68, 69. And it's interesting because if it's like 71, I mean, I wake up, I'm like, oh, it feels just too warm in here. And of course, it's only a couple degrees difference. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
interesting stuff, isn't it?
So cool. Okay, just like seeing in the chat here. But is it still the same spot when you moved to Vegas first? Well, we're in the same building, but we're in a different unit. So yes and no, it's the same spot. Yeah, it's the same building, but we just moved into a different place. In the building, blink of an eye says, I have never felt so good in my entire life than when I was fully raw. I actually let my cells super powered up and full of strength and energy. I also felt the most calm and at peace than I ever have. Most incredible feeling. Never knew it was possible. Oh, so glad to hear that. And yeah, I mean, whether you want to go all raw or high raw or whatever, raw food is so incredible for our bodies. So we heavily encourage you, if you have not checked it out yet, to go to the link in either of our bios and go grab the vegan health bundle because you only have 3 days left to get it. There is some sleep stuff in the bundle. I think Dr. Patrice High talks about that. And also we have Stephanie Salmon from Raw Food Meal Planner who has Beat Stress product in there too. So it goes beyond just recipes. Obviously, you've got the Align and Awaken Affirmation Meditation Challenge that you could listen to every night before bed to help you go to sleep. And that's something that we noticed in our school community. When people were listening to those, the top thing that people noticed was that their sleep improved. So if you want to improve your sleep, get the bundle so you can listen to the affirmation videos and find some good sleep. Blink of an Eye says, I had to do fully raw to try to heal lupus and kidney disease, but I didn't last longer than 3 months. Well, you can always do high raw, work towards it. Just because you can't do it completely, you can do it 90%, you can do it 80%, like at least do more and work your way up. It's better to do something, not quite as perfect as people think you should be for a longer period of time than doing something perfect for 3 months and then not doing it for another 8, right? So it is more beneficial to do it not as perfect, because we're not all perfect anyways. So, like, do the best you can, and find your balance there. But yeah. So what would you say would be some of your top sleep things that help you the most with improving your sleep?
Well, for one, staying hydrated through the day is definitely key. Having a smoothie for breakfast instead of coffee definitely makes a huge difference. And, having the temperature at that certain level, for us, it's, right around 67 degrees is perfect. Not eating too late in the day. And turning off all screens for at least an hour before bed, doing some sort of breath work, even if it's just 5 minutes worth of breath work. And yin yoga, amazing. If you guys haven't tried some yin yoga, like put on a YouTube and just do a yin yoga flow. Lissa and I have like a couple ones that we like to follow. One's 30 minutes, the other one's 45 minutes. There's also an hour. The 45-minute one seems to be like a sweet spot. The half-hour one, it's like, ooh, that wasn't really long enough, but that really like gets the parasympathetic nervous system like calmed down, and you're really like regulating yourself to go to bed, because it's really interesting how many of us are just on our phones laying in bed, and then it's like, okay, I got to get off this phone, and your brain is just like fully active.
There's lots of dopamine in there.
Yeah, those are huge. And then, of course, having a good day where, where we smiled, we laughed, we connected with people.
We worked out.
We worked out. Working out is so huge. We got our steps in. We're walking, at least 5,000 steps a day. I love it when we get around 8 to 10,000 steps in a day, which is right around 10,000 steps is about 5 miles. So, all of these things, it's so interesting because all of these things, it takes time, and taking care of these bodies is like, it's like a full-time job almost. Like
it really is.
Definitely a part-time job to take care of your body properly. But all of those things really, really help. Reading, I love reading before bed, a couple of pages, that really helps me go to sleep. But I have no problem falling asleep. Like, I could probably lay a pillow on the floor right here, and of course I'd probably want like a blanket to lay on, a little padding. It would be harder for me to sleep on hard ground, but I could fall asleep right now. Like within 3 minutes to 5 minutes I could fall asleep. So I'm really lucky like that. But all of those things add up. So yes, hydrating, eating properly, eating a good amount of calories, not eating too late, turning off those screens before you go to bed, good facial routine, and, brushing and flossing your teeth, and then, doing that yin yoga, some sort of stretching just to really relax yourself, some sort of breath work, some slow, like 432 hertz music, just to really calm yourself down. You crawl into bed, you're nice and no blue light, read a couple pages, go to bed early, 9 o'clock at the latest. You should be like eyes shut. For me, I'd say all those things are really key to having a really good night's rest. And we do strive, both Liz and I really strive to stay on point like that. And it's just me being someone who has had children, and you're working I had my own business, and it's tricky to get yourself into a nice flow. We're so busy as people, and especially if we have kids or grandkids that we're watching, or other people in our house, it can be really tricky to get into a nice routine and not be like stuck or addicted to stimulants to keep ourselves kind of awake for the day, which is of course pumping more cortisol, the stress hormone. You're not producing as much melatonin, so you're not sleeping as good. Mouth breathing. I mean, I definitely, I know I breathe through my mouth at night. I don't tape my mouth closed. I love the concept of breathing through our nose more. Yeah, and then those are all the things that I feel like really add up to a really good night's rest.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, speaking of yin yoga, if you guys buy the bundle, the vegan health bundle, right now, $49 gets you access to everything in the bundle. There is a yin yoga class thing by our friend Angelica. She's got her yin yoga course in there too. So if you want to learn more about yin yoga, get the bundle.
Yin yoga
And it's
is so incredible because you're holding these positions. You're bending your leg over and you get a nice good stretch, and you're holding that position for up to 3 minutes. And so it's really fascinating how sometimes our brain is just going like crazy, and to just focus back on your breathing. And every time you exhale, you can kind of maybe go a little bit deeper into that stretch. Sometimes, like, I find myself a little bit more fidgety, and it's like, ooh, okay, hold on, I'm here. Just like be here, like be fully in it. Man, yin yoga is next level. I feel like everybody on the planet should be doing some yin yoga, because really all it is just stretching. We sit in a chair all day long. We drive our car to work. We're sitting in a chair, driving, in our car. And stretching, that, man, we sleep. Lissa and I both we have such a better night's sleep if we do our yin yoga before bed.
I know, I'm like, it's happening tonight.
Yeah.
Like, I miss it because we haven't done
We
it in a
haven't been
while.
we haven't been super on point. It's been kind of out of whack last week, but that's the thing with life. It's just a constant juggle, right? Like we're like, oh, we're doing so good. Oh, we're slipping a little bit, and the slipping could be different for everybody, but yeah, I know it's interesting how important sleep is. It is the hub of the wheel. That's what we picture. Both Lissa and I, we picture that to be, that's what holds the wheel together. If you don't sleep great, it doesn't matter how good of a diet you have, or how much you exercise, and how much water you drank, and how much less low stress of a life you have, how much money you have in the bank. Does not matter if you're not getting a good night's sleep.
Exactly. I know the consequences are high. And with the dementia and Alzheimer's, a lot of people don't want to get that. And some people who've been through that know how horrible it is to watch a loved one lose that,
Or
their cognition. And it's like,
horrible.
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And women
So
have
if we can prevent it,
women have
you know,
probability than men too,
yes,
of
yes.
dementia and Alzheimer's. And of course diet really plays into it. And of course the things that we're putting on our body, we've got a lot of antiperspirant deodorant with aluminum in it, and we're putting it right next to those lymph nodes under our arms. Women are getting attacked way more because of the whole beauty thing. Like, women have to put on faces, and they put on their makeup, and so
That's
every
why we get the natural stuff, right?
natural stuff is important.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and that's a whole thing in itself. Like, it's so crazy how many things there are to research. Like, what would be the most optimum, right? What's the most optimum?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're on that path searching for the most optimum, all we can do is the best that we can do. And stressing out about stuff is definitely not helping us, no matter if we're doing the optimum everything. If we're stressed out because it has to be the optimum, like, that's not going to help us.
No,
And we know
exactly.
people who are neurotic, and their microbiome scores aren't the greatest, and they're not going to bed properly, but yet they're doing other things to the nth degree. And it's interesting how much sleep plays into it. And it should be talked about more. And, of course there are, like, you could dive down rabbit holes and listen to, amazing podcast people talking about the importance of sleep and the studies that we're finding out, because, we're at such an infancy stage in a way of our evolution. We're learning all these kinds of things that impact us in a negative way, and how we can flip the script on that. But of course, what do we have control over in our life? There's so many things that we have no control over. And it's frustrating. It can be really frustrating.
It can
But
be.
what we do have control over is we have control of what we're drinking, what kind of water we're drinking, if it's a good pure water, reverse osmosis or distilled water, maybe adding a little mineral back in, because if you're distilling it or reverse osmosis, there's no mineral. This is really important. But some people just don't even drink water. And then of course the diet is so huge. Like, what are we eating? So many. As a raw foodie, like, when you're vegan, it's one thing. You can go anywhere now and you can get everything that you could ever dream of vegan, plant-based, not health food,
Right.
but it could be vegan. If you're going to some health food stuff, like, you can definitely, you're always going to be able to make better meals for yourself way cheaper. But when you go raw, it's so interesting looking through that lens. Like, I'm a raw foodie today. If you're a raw foodie today and you just keep saying that over and over, that's what Lissa said back in the day when I first went raw. That's what really helped me. I just was like, I'm a raw foodie today. I'd look at that. I'm like, ooh, so-and-so brought donuts in. I'm drooling. They have my favorite donut, but I'm a raw foodie today. I'm good. I don't need the donut. Looking through that lens, a raw food lens, there's not much in, that we as people have access to, that we can just go get real quick. It's all do it yourself. And that just goes into, like, that's something that we have control over. There's not much we can control, but we can control how much water we're drinking, what we're eating, how we move our body, and what time we go to bed, and how we conduct ourselves, right? Like, those are things that we have control over. And
Exactly.
empowering, right? It's empowering. It can be daunting in a way, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to eat? Like, I know some people have messaged like, all you eat is salads, and it's like, dude, look at our page. We eat more than just salads. But yeah, essentially it's salads. Like, we eat a ton of salads. We eat so many salads. We drink a lot of smoothies. We blend up a lot of fruits and vegetables. But another thing too that's fascinating is how many people don't know and won't ever know what it feels like to feel like 30% better than their best. Because the majority of people, like, man, I feel great today. Maybe they snorted a line of Coke or something, or they had like coffee, and they're just like, because I've known people. I mean, I have friends in low places, and some people would be like, the best of their day was, because they did some Coke or they snorted some meth. And I'm like, man, you guys are nuts. Like, they have no idea what it feels like to feel good.
Yeah, without having something.
Some sort of
It's interesting you said that too, because before I went raw, I would do an energy drink in the morning and in the afternoon. And then there was this product that was like the same as an energy drink, but it was the opposite. It had like melatonin and calming things in it too. So it was like I was stimulating myself in the morning, and then I was like forcing to calm myself at night so that I could get the sleep that was all fragmented and weird because I was calorie restricting and not eating properly and all, like I was like trying to force it, when it was like I just had to get rid of that and start to eat properly and take good care of my body. And somebody in the chat said too, I have so much stress, and that can help, like that can cause a lot of issues with your sleep. But I definitely recommend that you guys get the bundle, because you can follow along with the Align and Awaken Affirmation Meditation Challenge, and that can really help to lower your stress.
Yeah, that
just follow it every day.
meditation challenge is fantastic. And we would just put it on at night and let it play. I would put the YouTube on loop So it would just play through the night, especially like here where we're at, we're downtown Las Vegas. This is not a natural environment for a human being to be living in. And, there's a lot of aspects that I absolutely love about Las Vegas, but there's a lot of things that I really don't care for. And I wouldn't miss if we weren't here. Pros and cons to everywhere. But on those nights, like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, the nights that are way loud, like
Like
super
tonight.
nights, going to be loud. Tonight's Friday night, it's going to be loud.
They have
And
the
that's,
race too, so it's like going to be
well,
loud.
they're not racing here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the Mint 400's out in the desert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. But still,
there's
it's going to be loud regardless.
Yeah, there's gonna be partying happening down there. So on those nights, we'll put on something like, I love listening to Alan Watts while we sleep, or maybe we'll listen to some Bob Proctor. We'll get certain videos that we can listen to where the voice is like not real amped, it's kind of mellow. And that Align and Awaken affirmation that you created is so good because your voice is so mellow. But that voice, we have the speaker on our bed. That voice playing kind of drowns out the thumping of the music, because normally we'll play some binaural beats or some sort of sleep music, like 432 hertz music of some sort, like white noise. And of course, like, I would absolutely prefer to sleep in the dead of silence, just nothing. And, out by a lake or something where it's like cool. In the morning, you hear the birds chirping, of course, like that would be ideal. And I know that, we could choose to live like that. And this is where we are right now. And this is how we cope with it. We wear the eye mask. We put on that music to where it kind of drowns out, because some nights it's going until 4 a.m. Heck, a couple weeks ago, it was literally almost 5 o'clock in the morning and it was thumping down there. So there's no noise ordinance here. Mm-hmm. And it's just a part of it. It's just a part of it. I definitely, it's interesting because like, I love it. It's so cool to see, what I see and people partying and having a great time, even though we don't partake in any of it. But another part of me is just like, this is gross. Like, I don't like it. All the lights and, we're in the thick of it. Mm-hmm. So that's where, getting a good night's rest is so key. And the stress level, for whoever said that about the stress, man, I would highly encourage, getting the bundle, trying that Align and Awaken meditation challenge. It's fantastic. 100 affirmations every single day for 30 days straight, especially if you follow it for 30 days. There's a lot of studies about how we can really rewire ourselves within 21 days. But then, the yin yoga. I would really try the yin yoga, which is also in the bundle. Angelica has her course in there, yin yoga. And try that at night. Really calm yourself down and go easy on yourself, because it is a stressful world. And it always has been forever. It doesn't matter what time or, 1,000 years ago, it was still stressful. It's interesting. I don't think that, there's a lot of things that have changed, but in a nutshell, I feel like it's just a part of being a human. And, some days really suck. And there's some other days that are really, really amazing. Mm-hmm. And, but we do have control over a few of these things.
Mm-hmm. We do. C. Shelley Travel is asking, are you going to post this video? Yes. Any live that you see is always posted in the Reels section of Instagram, unless there's a glitch, which is pretty rare. But those lives always get posted in the video section, the Reels section. And I'm also going to post this on YouTube as well. So if you missed it. Patricia's asking, do you feel like you healed your organs after doing the drinks and stuff? I'm concerned my son is 19 and have been drinking energy drinks against my guidance. I drank energy drinks up until I was 34. And I noticed, like, I had heart flutters. My heart would like flutter in the middle of the night and it would wake me up, and then I wouldn't be able to get back to sleep because I'd be thinking about what it would be like to have a heart attack. So that was pretty horrible. I know my adrenal glands were totally shot, and I needed coffee and all these energy drinks to like at least just function. But I do believe that my organs have balanced out. It just takes time, and it takes not consuming them for sure. Like, you want to not have them, but obviously, like, you can't control what he's doing. This is his choice. All you can do is be a good example, not force your beliefs onto him, because it's just going to push him away even more. But he'll find out if
Yeah.
he's going to feel it. I mean, it's not like you don't feel it. You do feel it, and
Or,
eventually you'll get to a
yeah,
point where he won't.
or he
Yeah.
won't. Because
Or he won't.
some people don't. Some people came here to party and just get trashed and never, ever wake up to a different way of life. Like, I know people, and I know all of us know these people too. They're, that they have been riding that crazy train their whole life and don't ever come off of it. But yeah, like Lissa says, ask questions, don't tell, because it doesn't work, especially with our children, telling them what to do. Ask them questions. How do you feel? These sorts of things, right? And it's interesting too, because the body is so resilient. It's fascinating that the body even functions the way that we treat it. And the way that the majority of people treat it. Like, we go out for walks and we're like, oh my gosh, like, look at society. Like, of course, people come here to Vegas to really throw down and get wild. And so I don't feel like this is like the average day in the life for a lot of these people walking around. Like, they're here on vacation to let go, and what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, kind of thing. But I know it's fascinating how many people are. I was too. I was totally hooked on those energy drinks. I didn't like other energy drinks. The only energy drinks that I liked was Red Bull, and they were sickening sweet. They had to be like ice cold for me to kind of like enjoy them. Like, it was gross if they were not ice cold. But then after a while, it doesn't do anything. You don't have the energy from the energy drink.
Right.
So, but yeah, everybody's going to have to, it's so cliche in a way, but like, we're all we're on our own evolutionary journey, and we're going to experience what we need to experience for our evolution. And, it's sad to see the loved ones not taking their health seriously, especially if we ourselves are like really at this chapter in life where we're really hyper focused in a certain area. And we find, like, say, the Holy Grail. Like, I found the Holy Grail, drinking water every day. Who would have thunk? But not everybody's going to be like receptive or open to it at that point in time, and they're going to go through what they're going to go through. We've had friends that we try to kind of deter them from a certain direction with what they may be doing, and you can't tell people. They're going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to get that experience that they need to have for them to then have another experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the energy drink thing is so interesting when you said that too, because I remember they were so sickeningly sweet, but I still drank them.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't like
They
them,
were
but you still
so
drink it.
gross. Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah, and then I would still do coffee as well on top of that, because I really liked the energy I got from that, which was not very much because my adrenals were shot. So it was just a really interesting phase of my life, and I woke up to it. I was like, I don't want to feel like this anymore, so I changed. And hopefully, Patricia's son wakes up. When we're young, we can do a lot of stuff to our body, not to justify it, but we can do a lot more to our bodies. We really start to notice stuff later on in life.
Oh my gosh. Scharfenberg, right? He's a perfect example of someone who he's never drinking coffee, he's never smoked, he's never had alcohol. He's 101 now, I think he is.
And he still drives. Dr. John Scharfenberg,
Dr.
right?
John Scharfenberg, yeah, and you can find him on YouTube. You can listen to different things. He's so cool. He's got such a great energy. I talked to him for over an hour at this party, and I was like, I know for me, most likely, I'm not going to be that sharp when I'm his age, because I did ride a little bit harder in my younger years. And, I mean, it's interesting because there's somebody who really ate healthfully his entire life, and it goes to show because he's sharp. At 100 years old, he is with it. He is more sharp than a lot of people, I would think, in their 20s,
Mm-hmm.
as far as recalling certain things. He's got obviously like 80 more years under his belt than someone who's in their 20s. But I was blown away. I was like, man, he's a prime example of what it would be like if you really treated yourself properly. And of course, that has to do with influences. We have a lot of different influences in our upbringing, maybe whatever it may be. You're trying to fit in and these sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're influenced and the people you're around are on that page, it just goes to show, like, but either way, whatever the case is, if we could live a good, happy life and we're living till 70, studies have shown that the back in the day, the caveman, Neanderthal only lived to like in their 40s. So we're already living, 30 years longer than them. But it's interesting. Yeah, the quality of life. And yeah, I was blown away with Scharfenberg because he was driving
I
and
know. It's so
he
crazy.
got a little turned around, because of course he's not going to be as technologically advanced as the younger generations, but I was blown away. And to see him walk, like, he walked like he was someone in his maybe 70s,
Yeah.
late 70s or something, like, a healthier individual in their 70s, but he's 100. He's 30 years older. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely something to shoot for. But
I
yeah,
bet he has his sleep on point.
yeah, his sleep's on point. His microbiome's healthy, very low stress. He was really smiley and laughing, and just he had such a great demeanor, a great energy. Um, and he wasn't someone who was full vegan, though, which was pretty fascinating. Like, he did do dairy and egg, and I believe he still might. I can't remember if he still does.
But
Um,
I thought it was just a little bit. Like
it
he
was like
wasn't.
very, very
Yeah.
rare. It was very rare, but I don't think he had much meat in his life ever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he was, raised by doctors and surrounded in that world. And we know a couple people, their kids they're going to be surrounded by people who are really health conscious individuals as well. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Um, of course, there is a balance. There's a balance to everything. Sometimes, I don't know, I feel personally, sometimes having those experiences are really beneficial for our growth too, whatever it may be. You know, say getting drunk at a party. Some of my best nights that I have in my memory log was, being like having a nice buzz with some friends and singing songs, being goofy and just having a great time. And those are experiences that I wouldn't trade. That's a part of being human.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and stressing out about stuff, that's the craziest thing, is because there's so many things that are promoting fear,
Oh,
and that's a whole nother topic,
totally.
like how there's possibly uh, energies being able to absorb that kind of energy coming from us because it's so prevalent. Even our own thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
they say 95% of our thoughts are subconscious, and 70 to 75% of those subconscious thoughts, kind of unconsciously thinking, we don't really, we're just kind of going through the motions. 70 to 75% are negative and redundant. Just over and over and over again, we're repeating these things. We have like almost like demons that are with us, but we can't identify them as a demon. They seem like ourselves, right? So it's fascinating. All of this stuff is so fascinating, and of course, we've gone on way different tangents than just sleep, but sleep is so important.
Yeah, totally. I know. And on that note too, the thoughts that we have, those core beliefs that we have about ourselves, about sleep, there actually is in the Align and Awaken Affirmation Meditation Challenge, there is a whole day about sleep. Like, learning to love going to bed early, and affirming to yourself that this is something that you value. Changing those core beliefs can happen. And we do definitely recommend you go check out the bundle. The link is in either of our bios or in the description box below if you're watching on YouTube. Get the bundle so you can download the Align and Awaken Affirmation Meditation Challenge so that you can start to reprogram your core beliefs, start to learn how to love sleep, movement, healthy food prep, and all the stuff, right? Overcome procrastination, connect with your future self. There's so many things. Every single day has a different topic. And over the 30 days, you say 3,000 positive affirmations. So, it's a small dent in the amount of negativity that goes on in our minds, but it's something, right? So I hope people can enjoy that, and go get the bundle because there's so many things in there. Nate's brand new smoothie ebook. So go to the link in his bio, grab the bundle, link in mine as well. But you only have 3 days left to get it. So go do that right now before the weekend disappears and you're like, oh, I meant to get it, but I didn't. So go do it right now. It only takes a few seconds to get it. You'll get a link to download all the content. And once you download it, you've got it forever. So you have 1 year to do that. But please go grab it if you want. And thank you, my love, for the chat. It's been awesome. I love chatting with you as always. And I hope everybody else enjoyed. Thank you again for joining, and we will be back tomorrow with some more lives. Nate will be making a smoothie again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. PST. So join in, and we will see you later. Bye, everybody.